A listener warning. Please be advised that this episode contains content that may be disturbing to some listeners, including descriptions of violence. Listener discretion is advised.
Life upon the wicked stage ain't ever what a girl supposes.
I'm Jen.
I'm Ashley.
And I'm Olivia.
And we are, in fact, three different people.
This podcast focuses on true crime under the spotlight of arts and entertainment. So grab your beverage of choice and settle in.
Places, ladies.
Here's our episode.
It feels really good to have the power.
Jen, the power has been within you all along.
You've always had the power, my dear.
Isn't that like Galinda, whatever that girl says.
From the Wizard of Oz, yeah.
It's always inside of you.
Listeners, Olivia and I are dressed like podcast bros. We both are sporting a hoodie because there was a cold snap today, but Jen is styling as always. But
as always, in my uniform.
Jen, update our listeners though, for those who like to watch or who are watching us either on the Patreon or on YouTube now. What is coming your way? What should we expect in the coming episodes?
In the coming episode,
it's a big shakeup.
I'm very excited. I've been wanting to do this since we started. I have gotten myself a new robe. You know,
so
the
excited.
grand. I mean, like, this is what I will be walking around my home in. Every day.
All day, every day.
All day, every day. It is glorious and fluffy and red.
Oh, it's fluffy.
You didn't mention the fluffy before.
Not
No, you
fluffy.
didn't.
Oh, okay, not fluffy in the sense of like comfort fluffy. Fluffy in the sense as in like ruffles and tulle. And it's so fabulous. Just wait. Next week. It's coming. Tune in.
Okay.
All right. I'm very excited for this.
Floozy
Jen.
red.
And it's in floozy red.
Well, what's the thing? It's like, make sure that, not that it matters what anyone else thinks, but like choose your outfits wisely because if anything happens to you, that's going to be your ghost outfit.
This is my ghost outfit. 100%. That's why I'm wearing it all the time, just in case.
I do feel that. I'm like, this is one of those, I would wear this outfit. I could run through the forest in it. I could hide in things. I could,
I could run through the forest in this robe. And castle, like castle hallways.
You
yeah,
beautifully.
exactly.
Well,
Just Ashley.
There's a segue. Today, friends, we are going to be talking about William Desmond Taylor. Olivia's shaking her head.
I don't know who this is.
William Desmond Taylor started as an actor, but then became a director, and he was mostly then known as a director. That was sort of what made him famous. But I'm just going to jump right in because this case is pretty wild, and I feel like I'll say like salacious as some of the details are, or for as big of a deal as this case was when it happened, like no one talks about this anymore. Like
I'm coming in so fresh. I can't wait.
Spoiler alert, this does remain unsolved.
Well, I'm glad that you said that there isn't a solution up front because I would have been so pissed. We got to the end and I'm like, wait, what?
Wait, what?
She would have
happened.
She would have gone real podcast bro in that.
If I just just like pulled a fast one on you and was like, and we never heard from them again.
And then I just hit stop. And Olivia was
screaming in the background.
Stopped recording.
So William Desmond Taylor, we're going to call him by his last name, Taylor, on some of this.
So just like Desi.
Or Wills.
Desi. Desi
we all have a
different Willie, Bill to his friends, Bill Taylor.
WDT.
William Desmond Taylor, he was 49 when he was murdered, surprise. And he was a popular actor and director of silent movies. He was killed by a gunshot in the back on February 1st, 1922 inside his Los Angeles bungalow. So his murder led to this frenzy of, I'll say sensationalized, as we've seen before, and often fabricated tabloid-style newspaper reports. So William Cunningham Deane-Tanner, note the different name there, he was actually born in 1872 in Ireland. So we're talking about immigrant. They get the job done. He was one of 5 children of a retired British Army officer, and he attended college in England. So in 1891, he left Ireland for a dude ranch near Runnymede, Kansas, in the U.S. This was where I was like, pause. I was like,
see you, Mom.
Was it his lifelong dream to go to a dude ranch?
I don't
understand.
What is this? I was like, I need to know more. So I did a deep dive on this dude ranch because I thought this was hysterical.
Yeah.
Tell me about a dude ranch, because that's a term we've heard, but I didn't know specifically what is a dude ranch. Like what? Tell me more. So just to be very clear, a dude ranch is a guest ranch, a type of ranch that is oriented towards visitors or tourism. So it's actually considered a form of agro-tourism. And these ranches, this brand of ranch, arose in response to the romanticization of the American West that had started to occur in the late 19th century.
Oh, cool.
Okay.
So this was like, like people who were like, normies, like, oh, wouldn't it be fun to like be a cowboy? But they just wanted to like go like cosplay like as a cowboy. Sort of like, wouldn't it be fun? So a person referred to as a tenderfoot or greenhorn by Westerners, meaning you're just like, a basic bitch from New York State or whatever. You could visit and enjoy the Western lifestyle for a short period of time without actually risking life and limb. So it was paying guests, usually from like big cities in the East, but in the West, those people were called dudes, hence the term dude ranch.
They were called dude. Okay, is this where the term dude in general came from?
Yeah.
Yes.
I guess so.
Where did that come from? Like, who named them dudes?
The actual cowboys, like the Westerners, the people who were like, we're the real deal. Like, I would be a dude.
Don't shoot her. She's only a dude.
She's a dude.
She's a dude.
What's up, my dudes?
Yes.
So that could be kind of a new secret insult.
Yeah,
kind of. Like,
yeah.
You have no idea what you're talking about, and dude, don't try to like enter my world. Okay, dude. That's cool.
Dude. I love it.
So, obviously, as you can imagine, this was where Taylor was like, someone has to work there at this place. So we have the romanticization of the American West, plus these people are basically acting as cowboys.
It's like Westworld, but without the robots.
Yeah, to give this experience of like, you too could like experience the Wild West lifestyle. So this dude ranch experience is what brought him to the United States, to Kansas. Great. So that was where he really sort of, he had some acting experiences. It sounds like while he was in school, more like, we're doing a school play.
Mm-hmm.
But
back in Ireland.
Yeah, in England.
England.
Yeah, England, where he was being educated. But yeah, so he eventually made his way to New York City, because that's where you go to be an actor on like the stage. So while he was there in New York City, he met Ethel May Hamilton, who was also an actress, and she had appeared on the stage in none other than the musical Florodora.
Stop it! Florodora?
Like, oh no! The Florodora girls.
The Floradorables.
The Florodora girls from one of our previous episodes. I was like, oh no, here it is. Taking it all the way back to life upon the wicked stage. She appeared under the stage name Ethel May Harrison. They were married. They were married in an Episcopal ceremony in December of 1901, and they had a daughter named Ethel Daisy, who was born in either late 1902 or 1903. So
I just couldn't let go of the Ethel.
Yeah,
I know they really wanted
to keep.
Why,
but
yeah. Ethel May, Ethel Daisy, this is her sister Ethel Sarah.
Really wanted to hang on to this. Yeah. So I was like, oh my gosh, I desperately want to know. Did she know? Oh my God.
Is it Evelyn? Was it
Evelyn? Yeah. Thank you. I kept wanting to say Annie, but I was like, no. Evelyn.
Annie Russell. Yeah.
Yeah. I was like, did she like know Evelyn? Like, she must have known Evelyn Nesbit. Yeah. They're both Florodora girls. But I was also like, what was like their hot take on the whole Harry Thaw, Stanford White? Because like they were absolutely right there in the thick of all of this. But Taylor and his family became well known in New York society. He was also, unfortunately, quickly became known as a heavy drinker who possibly suffered from depression and was known to carry on affairs with women. Wah, wah.
Damn it.
Strap in. This is where our first crazy turn happens.
Okay.
So they have the daughter by 1903. William Desmond Taylor suddenly disappeared on October 23rd, 1908.
What?
Disappeared.
Wait.
He disappeared.
Like he didn't come home type of
Disappeared.
Went out for a glass of milk and never came
There
up.
you
Glass
go.
of milk, a carton
Truly.
of milk.
So
I've had a rough day. I'm going to go get me a glass of milk.
fully
I'm going to
disappeared.
make it whole.
There are not
None of that
specifics.
2% bullshit.
There's not a specific, like, what exactly, was the particulars of this. But after his disappearance, I guess they noticed, like, hey, maybe, like, it doesn't say, like, was he in a show? He, like, just, like, didn't show up for call. Like, what were the details of this? But his friends did say at the time that he had previously suffered from what they called mental lapses. And his family, like, his parents.
Like losing time type of thing?
Yeah, they thought he had initially wandered off during an episode of amnesia because apparently that was like not unprecedented. So I was like, did he do this as a kid? Like what?
Right.
Maybe someone should look at that. Like that feels like a
Right.
neurological.
I want to be investigated. Like, I feel like I have mental lapses, but it's not like that. It's more just
Right.
like I forget what I'm doing.
So again, 1908 fully goes missing.
Wow.
And I guess like they did, like this wasn't looked into terribly deeply, and people were like, oh yeah, he does this sometimes. I was like, say more about that. Like that feels like pretty serious, but they just decided like, I guess he just wandered off. Like he'll come back when and if he wants to. But his wife obtained a state decree of divorce in 1912.
Wow.
Wait, so wait, he was gone. How long?
For that long?
So for 4 years, he could not be accounted for to the point where a judge, again, remember, you couldn't just get a divorce like for any reason.
know.
So it had to be like this was actually like abandonment. Like your husband literally has not been seen or heard from in 4 years. We'll give you a
Yeah.
divorce.
Floridora has closed. She can't make any money. She
Right.
can't have a bank account.
It's so interesting how many of our stories have, because people talk about like, oh, there's so many mental health problems today. It's like, no, they were always there. They were just talked about as mental lapses, hysteria.
Or they'll be like, we
the
never
vapors,
never had depression in my day. I was like, this guy fully just fucked off for 4 years. Like, you can't tell me he was fine.
Yeah.
Like,
People just hit it with drinking and
Precisely.
running away for 4 years. Yeah.
Like
They
you
didn't
do.
talk about it.
Just soldier on.
Elizabeth Short, the Black Dahlia's father, also did this. He
That's what I was going to
also-
say. I was like, did he pull
that's
a...
right.
He was
Mr.
depressed.
Short? Yeah.
Went missing / faked his own death.
Faked
for,
his own
like-
death. That's
yeah,
right.
Yeah, I was
Yeah.
like, why is this a theme of this era? It was like men are like, I'm feeling some feelings. Obviously,
Yeah,
that
can't
I'm
won't
talk
not
about
do.
supposed to have feelings.
Don't want to feel them.
I'm just
But
going to
also-
disappear or fake my death versus like, talking about it to like, I don't know, my wife or
Anyone.
something crazy.
You know what though? Like, I know that we all three of us, and probably many of our tens of listeners, would choose the bear, and we know what that means.
Yeah,
sure.
However, I'm going to say, back in this time, the men, there was a lot of pressure on the man of the household.
Sure.
They were the sole earner usually. They were expected to have it all together, have all the answers.
Right.
And
It's all on
so
you, Dave.
It's all
Yeah.
on you. Yeah.
Because society made it that way. We
That's-
literally weren't allowed to do anything.
Correct.
Like, sit home and sew a mitten.
Yeah,
I don't know.
darn
Darn
a
some
sock.
socks. Yeah. But I
Darn
would
your
imagine that like sometimes the pressure would probably just
Yeah,
really
sure.
overwhelm, and women fainted and men disappeared. It was a tough time.
Yeah, and we had smelling salts, so we were fine.
Well, it was also too, Olivia. You're right though that even just also like people's mobility within the job market also used to look very different. Like actors, I think were in their own category maybe,
Right.
but for like the average Joe, it was typical that you would have like the same job at
For
the
your whole
same
life.
company. So to be
Yeah.
laid off for any reason was
Yeah.
like catastrophic.
Right.
But also it wasn't like now where people move around every couple years just sort of like as a norm. So if you were like older, like let's say you're like 40 and you get laid off, like to start over somewhere in like, you know, in this era was actually, it was like, oh my God, like this is devastating, like to your family, to your household, like you might not actually be able to, because like who starts over at 40 or who like, you know, changes careers.
I would say even at that time 30, like 40, I think you're getting older.
Yeah, 45, you're dead. So
yeah, pretty much.
you died.
The leading cause of death at the time, January.
Where we are now.
And I'll tell you, in Florida, it might just be the leading cause of death.
You could get hit in the head with an iguana and not see it coming, and boom, you're done.
Yeah. Oh my God. So little is actually known of the years immediately following Taylor's disappearance, but he later told people that during this time, he traveled through Canada, Alaska, and the northwestern United States, mining gold and working with acting troupes.
Oh, he just took it on the road.
Took it on the road. So I was like, again, the mining gold, I was like kind of going back to like the Dude Ranch, like, you know, the American West, you know, the last days of like the frontier. I was like, he must really have liked that, to sort of, again, mining just like drop everything. And he's like, you know what, I'm just going to go travel around, you know, again, like Alaska, like I think we still call it like, you know, the last frontier or whatever. Like that's, still
it's mostly uninhabited.
Yeah, but also like an acting troupe. I was like, say more about the acting troupe. Like, were they like putting on a skit in a barn? Like literally, like what were they doing? But eventually he would switch from acting to producing. So by the time he arrived in San Francisco, California around 1912, so he disappeared in 1908 and he finally kind of landed in 1912.
But he's now been divorced, and does he ever have any contact with his kid ever? Again?
We'll come to that later.
Okay.
But yeah, so we have 4 years where he's just basically a vagrant. You know, he's making money, but he just does not have a home to speak of. So he finally puts down some roots in San Francisco, California in 1912, and he changes his name at this point to William Desmond Taylor. Okay. So he has disappeared himself from New York City. He's also changed his name. Which, we've talked about this in previous episodes, but it used to be way easier to just like disappear or like have a new identity. Granted, he was sort of pursuing life as a maybe celebrity / public figure as a actor director. But for a lot of people, like you could just disappear yourself this way. You're like, you know, I was Jennifer Bonner and now I'm, you know, Jessica Biel. Like surprise.
Surprise everyone. It's me.
JB. And they never heard from her again. So he initially started film acting in 1913. That his earliest known screen appearance was in, ironically, something called The Counterfeiter.
That's hilarious.
So he got involved with Balboa Amusement Producing Company, which to me sounds fake. Like that's just
right.
Like, what is an amusement producing company? Like what? But again, this is like early motion pictures. Like this is like the dawn of, you know, Hollywood.
Comedy. Think about it, right?
Yeah.
Amusement producing.
So at Balboa. Yeah, he meets this other actress, another actress. I was like, he's got a type. Neva Gerber, with whom he became engaged until 1919. So he strikes up with this new woman who he's with for, you know, somewhere 6-7 years. Gerber later recalled, he was the soul of honor, a man of personal culture, education, and refinement. I've never known a finer or better man. I was like, okay, Neva, but like maybe we want to check back with like, I don't know, like Ethel, like maybe she.
You want to
call
give her a
Ethel May
call.
or Ethel Daisy, either one.
Maybe we want to like give, you know, Ethel a call and say like, tell
us about what you think about his personal culture.
Personal culture. So just that was a fun little anecdote I just had to share. Taylor began directing films in 1914. So pretty quickly, you know, he's an actor for about a year in Hollywood, but very quickly moves into the director's chair. He directed also for Balboa something called The Judge's Wife. He then left Balboa and directed 2 films at Favorite Players Film Company and then American Film Manufacturing Company. He directed a 30-episode serial called The Diamond from the Sky. So, like, we've talked about, like, the serials before where,
you go every week or month or like, and see the next episode or whatever.
Yeah, because it was like before Netflix, this is what we did. In October of 1919, he joined Palace Pictures. Palace spelled Pallas, so not like palace like castle.
Right.
Different Palace. But a year later, Palace then became a subsidiary of famous players Lasky. Except for a month working at Fox Film Corporation in 1917, all of Taylor's subsequent films were directed for Famous Players Lasky, or like one of its subsidiary companies.
I like American film manufacturers.
I know, I thought that was fun. I was like, are you the manufacturing plant that makes like the physical film? And they're like, no, we manufacture films. Like,
film.
what are you talking about?
Obviously. Don't you get it? Duh.
So towards the end of World War I, we're now in July of 1918, Taylor enlisted in the Canadian forces, basically, as a private. So he trained for a couple months. He was ultimately stationed in Dunkirk. He was promoted to the temporary grade of lieutenant. And at the end of April 1919, he reached his final billet in France as a Major Taylor. So he started as a private, ultimately worked his way up to being a major of the Company D Royal Fusiliers. So that was what he was. I
wonder if he knew the Boogie Woogie Bugle Boy of Company D.
Olivia.
She always comes in with them. Like, I can always count on you. I can always count. I should know they're coming, and I still don't.
This is how Olivia's brain works.
I love it.
So he returns to Los Angeles in May of 1919. So he did serve in World War I for basically a little under a year, but he served, so hooray. And then upon returning from military service, he went on to direct some popular stars of the era, including Mary Pickford, Wallace Reed, Dustin Furnham, and his protege, and this is important, Mary Miles Minter, who starred in the 1919 version of Anne of Green Gables.
Anne of Green Gables!
The OG.
My favorite!
By this time, Taylor's ex-wife and daughter had become aware that he was working in Hollywood because
and
like
he was
he
alive.
got famous.
Oh,
right?
it's worse than that. They were watching the film Captain Alvarez. I guess he made a cameo in his own movie, and he appeared on screen. So they're sitting back home in the theater, and Ethel goes, "That's your father." So his daughter.
That's what happened to my family when my mom was watching a movie with Jessica Biel. She was like, "Oh, there's my daughter."
That's my daughter. That's her. Oh my gosh, she went missing. She vanished herself, and now she's here, starring in The Illusionist with Edward Norton.
Yeah, I wish.
So his daughter, Ethel Daisy, writes to him and is like, "What the fuck?" No, I don't think she wrote that, but
She should have.
writes to him and was like, "Hey, you might remember me," because she's like 15 at this point.
Wait, you might remember me. I'm your child.
I'm your daughter.
Remember me, that kid you had 15 years ago? It me. So in 1921, Taylor did visit his ex-wife and his daughter in New York City, and he made his daughter Ethel Daisy his legal heir. So he was like, "I recognize you. I don't know if we can say fully he did the right thing, because his wife was like, I had to divorce you when I thought you were missing while you were running around in Alaska.
Right, they had to come find him. He didn't go looking for them.
No, they saw him in a movie. They
were like,
"Daddy."
"That's your father." "Daddy? We have the same eyes."
Papa, can you hear me?
yeah, true. It's like a jump scare.
Yeah.
So this has been his career. So, he's done some military service. He's been an actor. He's, at this point, mostly a director. This is his primary shtick. It's going well for him. He is succeeding in Hollywood. He is thriving. The silent film era is well underway at this point. So on the morning of February 2nd, it's a Thursday, in 1922... At 7:30, William Desmond Taylor's body was found inside his bungalow at the Alvarado It's Alvarado with an A. Okay. Alvarado Court Apartments, which is located in Westlake, Los Angeles. And at that time, that was a trendy and affluent neighborhood. So there was a lot of movie stars, a lot of people in the film industry who like had bougie apartments in this area. Early in the morning, a crowd quickly gathers outside, and someone who identified themselves as a doctor stepped forward. It was like, I am a doctor, and it was like, I will examine the body, and declared, like, I don't know how, but declared that Taylor had died of a stomach hemorrhage.
Wait, what?
Oh. Yeah. So
this guy just stepped out of the crowd.
Some person steps out of crowd and says, I'm a doctor, let me look.
And the cops are like, okay.
Yeah, get in here, buddy.
Sounds about right.
He's died of a stomach hemorrhage and immediately then leaves. So this doctor was literally never seen again.
Okay.
And so, again, like we've talked about in other cases, like the way crime scenes were handled as far as like people just being like, you know, the press and like bystanders. Like, everyone is like, people are coming in, everyone's looking around like, what happened? Like there's no tape up yet, but he's just laying there. William Desmond Taylor is fully dead. So people are just walking around the body. Wow. And then at some point they were like, maybe we should turn him over and just, I don't know, like look at him. And then it is revealed, upon rolling him over, you know, what a concept, that the 49-year-old film director had been shot at least once in the back with a small caliber pistol, which was not at the scene.
Ooh. Okay, so he was laying face up whenever.
Yes, so he was laying on his back.
They found him. Okay.
Yep. So his funeral took place on the 7th of February, so 5 days later. Real quick here, at St. Paul's Cathedral in Los Angeles. He was interred in a mausoleum at what is now the Hollywood Forever Cemetery on Santa Monica Boulevard. So it says it also says he died on his tombstone. They listed his date of death as the 1st of February, which was interesting. So his body was discovered on the 2nd. So they made the assumption that he was killed the day before, which was interesting. Yeah, because it's like, you know, the whole time of death thing. It was like, well, when did he die? Like, I don't know. We're not sure. So getting into the autopsy here, they did do an autopsy. Yay, good.
Thank goodness. It wasn't that hemorrhage doctor, was it?
No.
See, I told you.
It's like a real person. Okay. There had been no obvious sign of struggle in the apartment, meaning it wasn't. There are crime scene photos, which I will put up. Okay. But there was nothing where it was like, oh, this, you know, the chair was like overturned and like things were broken. Like there was like a fight to the death. Nothing like that. There was no sign of any sort of break-in where it was like, oh, someone like, you know, picked the lock or like, you know, broke the door down or like smashed a window. None of that. The wound path was interesting. This is the part where I think adds or is maybe one of the biggest mysteries because it's like, okay, he was shot in the back, big whoop. The wound path here is what's weird, and this is where it's like, something's up with this, and this might have a lot also to do with like who shot him and how. So the person doing the autopsy, who's a real doctor, Dr. Wagner, he testified. Dr. Wagner testified that the bullet entered the left side 6.5 inches below the armpit and traveled inward and upward, passing through the ribs and both lobes, so a through and through, of the left lung, and then traveled the medistenium? I don't know what that is. Medical term.
Doctors, we are not.
No. To his chest. And it exited the chest near the right collarbone region, and it was just beneath the skin in like the neck shoulder area of his collarbone. So it started under his like left armpit and went
through,
like so like diagonally through his back. So I'm like, that's really weird. So they actually listed on his death certificate, it says gunshot wound of the chest, but he was shot in the back. So when you think a gunshot wound of the chest, it's like someone shoots you from the front and the bullet goes in the chest. The bullet did go through his chest, but it's because he was shot in the back, like on a diagonal.
Right.
Which is also weird because it's like if you're standing, let's say you're standing back from somebody, like, I don't know, even like 5 feet, and you aim at them, it's going to go like straight through their torso. Again, witness testimony and people who were a little bit closer to Taylor and had occasion to be in his home before this, they, looked again around the apartment. And they described the scene as looking, quote, he just walked in the door and was shot.
Wow.
So, and then later summaries described that this was probably a .38 caliber bullet. They also said something about like this might have been a rare type of ammo. Like there was like some discourse about that. The ammo doesn't really matter. It's not a big piece of evidence. So from very early on, law enforcement, and industry people and neighbors, and like we said, the scene was just full of sort of like looky-loos. People were touching shit. People were in the apartment, just, like I'm like gonna like put my hand on the table, put my hand on the doorknob, like put my, like just
touching
like
his jacket. They're like, this is a nice jacket. Like, look at this fabric.
I'm gonna
Bill, get over here.
Like stop it. So from very early on, there's all these people, and if there was any sort of like, again, they didn't have great forensics, but even something as simple as fingerprints, this makes later retesting stuff almost impossible because there were so many people in what was actually like, it was a nice apartment, but it was still a pretty small space. In his pockets, so of his dead body, investigators found a wallet holding what was then $78 in cash, but currently over $1,000
that's a big
today's money.
Wow.
So, imagine like in the pocket is like basically $1,000, a silver cigarette case, a Waltham pocket watch. I assume that's nice.
Probably,
a pen knife, and a locket bearing a photo of actress Mabel Normand.
Oh.
On his
Nothing
finger,
was taken, so obviously it wasn't.
Yeah, nothing's taken. Also, on his finger was a 2-carat diamond ring. I'm assuming this was like a pinky ring or something like that.
I'm sure it was. This kind of guy, I'm sure it was a pinky ring.
So he's got a 2-carat diamond ring. There's also other like money and valuables and stuff like, in the apartment. So none of this is missing. Robbery is not a motive. He also, it looks like that he had been carrying, he had withdrawn a large sum of cash from his account the day before, like more than this $78, now worth $1,000. He had even more money he had taken out of his account. It was just never accounted for.
Okay.
So they can't say like it was missing from his apartment, but it was also like, I don't know what the number was, but it was like, hey, you took out $3,000 of cash. Where did that end up? Yeah, like it was never recovered, like from his office, like from his car, like they never found it. So after the initial investigation, they estimated that his time of death was 7:50 p.m. the night before. So this is where we get February 1st.
Right.
Yeah, as far as like when he was shot. Again, forensics, not amazing, but they're like, we think this was the window. So Mary Miles Minter, who is, again, this actress that he had just directed in Anne of Green Gables, she was like his protege. She was the one. She was telling another friend, another director, Marshall Nealon, she was talking to him about this and said that Taylor had made several highly delusional statements about some of his social acquaintances, including her, in the weeks before his death. She also said that Nealon, this other director, so they're telling this to investigators, this other director agreed that Taylor had been acting strange and thought he might recently have, quote, become insane.
Just recently.
It
just happened.
This is a guy who has a history of mental lapses, disappeared for 4 years, and now has gone insane. He sounds a little unhinged himself. Like,
so I was like, if it hadn't been for like the disappearance and the amnesia and all the other stuff, it's like this seems like it might have like come a little bit out of left field. And again, remember, this is also someone who is a drinker. So there's some other stuff percolating here, but there aren't like specific statements that I found where it was like, well, can you unpack insane? Like, what specifically did he say to make you think that?
What does that mean? Yeah.
And what were the delusional? Did we get more information on what he said that was delusional? Or no? It's just he had made delusional state. We don't know exactly what it was.
It sounded like just
like
in
was
general
it paranoia, like they're coming to get me, or was it?
Yeah, like it was just generally like weird vibes.
Okay.
Like it was like you're being weird. We don't know why you're being weird, but you're kind of being weird.
But you're being weird.
So.
Interesting.
So also in the midst of this, a media circus almost immediately erupts with all these newspapers like we talked about. They're like, oh my God, like crazy murder. This becomes national news. Okay. So the film industry is still very new, but is, of course, like this has become quickly like a big part of American culture. So again, this is being covered to death. But also like the performers, producers, like people of Hollywood were actually really worried about this murder, like this case, and sort of what it said about this relatively young industry in general, because so much of like, like capitalism was relying on this and like, hey, we're doing capitalism. We're trying to like make money with these movies. It's not like we're just doing it like for giggles because we love it.
We're manufacturing films.
And there had been like other scandals, like we're now in like the early 1920s,
right?
Like, this, we've got like prohibition in the mix. Like there's all sorts of stuff going on, as we talked about in Black Dahlia. Like there's like, mob activities like starting to like take hold of Hollywood.
They're taking over Hollywood. Yeah.
So people who work in the industry are actually really concerned because they're like, oh my gosh, we've had these other, I'll say like smaller scandals, but now we have a full-on murder. This makes us look really bad. So, there was this Los Angeles undersheriff, Eugene Biscalius. He was talking to the Chicago Tribune, and he said, the industry has been hurt. Stars have been ruined. Stockholders have lost millions of dollars, and people are out of jobs and incensed enough to take a shot at you.
Wait, he said this.
Interesting.
Hold on. Was he talking about the industry because of this murder, or this is how rough the industry is and it's led to this murder?
Both.
Oh,
so
okay.
he was saying like, hey, it's already rough out here. Like, this is really fragile. We're trying to make some money. We're trying to do capitalism. There's been all these other scandals, tensions are already running high. And also now we have this. So like, it's almost like saying like, of course something like this was bound to happen. Like everyone's so tightly wound. And also like, this is making us look really bad. And then in a follow-up, there was another report according to Robert Grieux, Giroux, Giroux, I don't know. Robert. He said, studios seem to be fearful that if certain aspects of this case were exposed, it would further escalate their problems. They also said that another interview said, last year I interviewed a Los Angeles police detective who is now retired. He was assigned to the case immediately after the murder, and he told me, we're doing all right. And then after about a week, we were told to lay off. So the investigation starts and everyone's like, oh my God, this is so terrible. Like, we need to solve this. This is making the industry look really bad. And then all of a sudden, allegedly, the police department gets told, hey, never mind, just back off.
By whom?
Well, by whom indeed, Olivia, because they're like, this is making the industry look really bad. So to me, that implication says they started investigating and they realized that maybe, as I like to say, the calls were coming from inside the house. Mm-hmm. And this was like someone who was within the Hollywood system who they were wanting to protect, whether it was like a star or someone else. And they're like, oh no, we can't have this get out and like seen to be, eating our own, if you will. We need to try to keep this quiet. So we're going to get into some of the suspects at this point, because this is where I think it starts to get really pretty wild in terms of like this motley crew
A motley crew of suspects.
A motley crew of suspects because, holy shit. So we're going to go through them kind of, maybe not in order per se, in no particular order. How's that?
Okay, great.
So we're going to start with Mabel Normand. Mm-hmm. So this is someone who is a friend, at the very least, if we're being charitable. Mabel Normand had a possible romantic link to William Desmond Taylor. And, most importantly, she was confirmed as the last person to see him alive.
Oh, confirmed. Okay.
Yes. So she had actually been there the night of the murder on February 1st. And according to her, she left him alive. Everything was fine at 7:45 p.m.
Okay.
This is Mabel Normand's story. Mabel Normand, just to give a little bit of detail about her, if you've never heard of her, she was a very popular comedic silent film actress. Okay. She was a frequent co-star of Charlie Chaplin.
Stop it!
And Roscoe Fatty Arbuckle. So this is like Meryl Streep was at the scene of the crime the night before, and
and do we believe her?
Yeah, do we believe her?
Why was she there? Did she say why?
Why indeed, Olivia? Why
I keep asking all the good questions.
So apparently Norman said that she had, suspected various reasons for why Taylor might have been killed, but claimed to not know the identity of who really killed him, according to her. Okay. But again, to be clear, also she referred to him as a friend. But he apparently, based on like letters and other things they recovered and things that he had said to other people before this, William Desmond Taylor was in love with Mabel Normand. He was obsessed with her. And interestingly, she had actually approached him for help to cure her cocaine dependency.
Okay.
Yeah. Too many Coca-Colas on set. Crafty Services needed to bring more water.
Yeah, I was like, we've got cocaine in the chat. And so I guess this was like something I don't know if it's right to say like they bonded over it, but this was something that was sort of intimate between the two of them, and that it did sound like he was very invested in helping her overcome the struggle. Again, remember, like, this is a man who's like puppy dog obsessed with her. She's an incredible actress. So there's something going on there. Yeah. So on the night of the murder, so she's like, yeah, I was there. I saw him. Nothing to see here. She claims that she left his bungalow. Everything was fine. Like nothing, bad happened. They didn't fight. Everything's fine. And I guess he like lent her a book. So she said, I left at 7:45 and I took this book that he lent me. She says that she and Taylor blew kisses to each other as her limousine drove away. So I guess like she had, a limousine with a driver, like you do.
My goodness.
Like you do.
And was like, yeah, like, he, I assume like stood in the doorway and we like, blew a kiss at each other and drove away. She was interviewed by the LAPD and they said, yeah, no, it doesn't seem like, she's a suspect. Like, we believe her. The LAPD did. But her reputation was then, of course, tarnished by the revelation of her addiction, which was then seen as a moral failing. And also, she kind of fell from grace after this, I think by association of just like, oh my gosh, you were sort of like a person adjacent to this like tawdry crime. Yeah. And were at least, even though she said, no, like we're friends and like, we're close. And he told some people he was obsessed with me, but like we weren't lovers.
Right. But that's, if he's obsessed with me, I can't help it.
Right.
I can't help it.
Yeah. That's not her fault. And she actually died in 1930 from tuberculosis. Again, tuberculosis all over this thing.
It was everywhere.
Consumption.
And this was really sad. A few days before she died, she asked her friend and confidant, Julia, do you ever think they'll find out who killed Bill Taylor? Aww. So until she died, this was something that she was concerned about.
Concerned with.
So again, she was a suspect because just purely of timing. They're like, hey, you're the last person to see him alive.
Proximity, yep.
And the fact that it was confirmed was just her telling the cops, I was there.
I was there
at this time. and they found out when he was okay. Cool.
Yeah, exactly.
Hey friends, Jen here, and we hope you're enjoying this episode of Life Upon the Wicked Stage. Just a few quick reminders. If you're looking for any of the visuals that we've mentioned in this or any episode of the podcast, make sure to follow us on Instagram at Wicked Stage Pod or Facebook at Life Upon the Wicked Stage. If you want more, please join our Patreon by searching the Wicked Stage Podcast. There you'll find ad-free episodes, videos of our recordings, mini-sodes, behind-the-scenes content, giveaways, and so much more. And the most important side note, if you like the show, please give us a nice rating wherever you listen. It sounds silly, but it's still the best way to get the word out and support us in this crazy podcast world. Well, lights are blinking, intermission's over, so grab those snacks and another drink and enjoy the rest of the show.
So, again, this just all speculation about, possible, a lover's quarrel or, some sort of maybe entanglement with, drug suppliers. There's a bunch of conspiracy theories about, a drug ring murdering William Desmond Taylor because they were, mad that they, lost her as a client, basically, because he helped her, get sober. I was like, that feels...
Listen, everyone was addicted to cocaine at that time in Hollywood.
Plenty of cocaine to be sold.
Yeah.
So next up we have Mary Miles Minter. This is where y'all are gonna be mad.
Oh, here we go.
Mary Miles Minter was a young starlet who was allegedly infatuated with Taylor. Mm-hmm. So she had romantic letters tying her to Taylor, creating this scandal and a jealousy narrative between her and also potentially Mabel Normand. Okay. Because Mary Miles Minter is I'm in love with you, and Taylor is I'm in love with Mabel. Mary Miles Minter was a former child star and teen screen idol whose career had been guided by Taylor. A tale as old as time.
God
he was
damn it!
Grooming this.
Yep, here we go.
Mary Miles Minter had grown up without a father, and she was only 3 years older than the daughter that Taylor had abandoned in New York City, Ethel. So it's going great. She's 3 years older than his literal daughter. Not awesome. There were love letters from Minter again. So this is her, young Mary Miles, writing to Taylor I love you. Were discovered in his bungalow by investigators. Based on these letters, police and reporters alleged that, in fact, a sexual relationship between the 49-year-old Taylor and 19-year-old Minter had been going on since she was 17.
Ooh,
God. There's more about this, including pretty good reason to believe that her mother knew about this and also encouraged this, because we have a stage mom situation with a former child star, and she's I want my daughter to be a not child star, an adult star. I want her to be a star. So, citing Minter's own statements, it was believed that her love for Taylor was unrequited. So Taylor himself...
That didn't stop him from taking advantage of the situation.
How is it
come on.
if they were lovers?
Yeah, this is where I'm this is where I was you're going to be so mad. So... my take on all of this, based on all the different evidence, because there's a lot of there's conflicting stuff. So we have Taylor had anecdotally told people before he was mentored, he's oh, this young woman means nothing to me. She's just obsessed with me. There's nothing to see here. Mabel Normand, woman who I'm actually interested in, who was also quite a bit younger, but was at least not a child.
Nothing to see here.
But
no,
at
she's
the same
just
time,
my ward.
Yeah, but at the same time, so he wasn't in love with her oh, I want to I don't know, I don't want to be in a relationship with you, but he was fully willing to accept sexual favors from her. So it was sure, I'm not going to totally rebuff you. And it sounds like there was stuff where she was I want to be in a relationship with, and he's No. But if you want to come over, like, whatever, like, I'm not going to stop you.
Right. Booty call.
Yeah, that's a great, that's a succinct way of putting it, Olivia. In today's terms, this would be a
booty call.
Jailbait booty call. Yeah. So facsimiles, so not the real letter, but a facsimile of Minter's passionate letters to Taylor were printed in newspapers, which then, of course, shattered
how embarrassing
her reputation.
For her.
Yeah. So she was vilified in the press. She made 4 more films for Paramount. And then the studio was like, yeah, no, we're good. She really, like, never took off as an actress. In 1957, she married Rando, a businessman, just a guy, and she died in 1984. So she lived. She lived a pretty long time. Yeah.
Can we stop? Can we just stop in everything, but in Hollywood? Can we stop taking advantage of people to get like? Can we stop it? Like,
please, young people.
Can we stop? It's hard enough as it is. Can we just
child
stop?
Stars and teen stars and just
how awful. Many different stories have we done?
Almost all of them.
Anytime, almost every time, there's like a young woman and like a creepy old man.
Yeah. Awooga. Oh, I don't have it ready. We haven't even used it yet this season.
Jen, get it out. It's all over this episode.
Excuse me, I'll find it.
Yeah, anytime this is sadly a recurring theme, and it's one of those. It's like, obviously not all men, but my God, an awful lot of men,
an awful lot of men in Hollywood, and I'm really just tired of it. Like, just stop.
Just can you not like do less? Just do less. Yeah. So to recap about Mary Miles Minter, she was a suspect because they have these letters, tying me to Taylor.
There we go.
I found it. We're good. Everything's right with the world. I'm mad, and I have the awooga noise. Okay, great.
So we've got this young girl writing sexy letters to Taylor. Obviously, something is going on there, regardless of whether or not he wanted to trot her out in public. But there was this jealousy narrative of maybe she murdered him because she was mad that he wouldn't go public with her, or that he was obsessed with Mabel Normand. And
how old was she at the time
19
of the murder? 19. I was like, she's still a kid at the time.
She's still pretty young. But there's also these letters, again, were sensationalized in the press, so they were sort of made out to be, worse than they were. There's no forensic or ballistic evidence linked to her. There's nothing to link her to the scene to say that, you were definitely there. It sounds like she was, in fact, alibied, where it was they couldn't prove that, you were definitely there, or, you can't prove that you weren't somewhere else, per se. So there was plausible reason to believe that she was not at the scene. And the rejection, the jealousy, that whole piece of it that sort of makes her also a sexy suspect from the psychological angle. But there's nothing.
She wanted him and couldn't have him, so nobody could. So.
Nobody can.
But that's all speculation. She never said anything like that to anyone, and that wasn't in the letters. Where it's if you won't, take me to a restaurant in public.
It's not. It's not Fatal Attraction.
Right.
They wanted it to be very Hollywood, so they made it very Hollywood.
And a lot of that was speculated in the press and was printed as fact, but the actual letters do not say anything like that. Now we move to Charlotte Shelby, who was Minter's mother. We've got stage mama theory. This is, I'm just going to tell you right now, this is my favorite suspect. As far as someone who I think actually had means, motive, opportunity. So, as we talked about, Charlotte Shelby, Mary Miles Minter's stage mother, she pretty much would stop at nothing to advance her daughter's career. This was also heavily motivated by money. So this was the quintessential, I am a parent of a child star, but I'm going to use my child's success and fame to enrich myself. So she was just a greedy stage mother. Minter and her mother, the financial piece, this was a point of contention for them.
Okay.
As part of this, they actually fell out and were not speaking for a while, but I guess they did eventually reconcile. But Shelby's initial statements to the police about the murder were characterized again as evasive and, quote, obviously filled with lies about both her and her daughter's relationship with Taylor and, quote, other matters. Where I was like, what?
I want to know what the other matters
Yes.
are.
So the most compelling circumstantial evidence is that she owned a 38 caliber pistol and this like weird ammo that was not typical.
What would the motive have been? Because Mary was still making movies, right? And money. And so what was the motive here?
Yeah. So we're going to get into that right now. Okay. So, this is another fun detail. After the information that she had... that she had the weird, that she had the 38 and she had the weird ammo.
Yeah.
Apparently, they were like, hey, where's that gun? We would like to like inspect it or whatever. And she's like, oh, we threw it into a Louisiana bayou.
I knew it. I was like, where'd it go? Yeah.
Wait, a Louisiana bayou?
Yes.
Why was she in Louisiana?
So it was like, you made a special trip to Louisiana to throw this in a bayou? Like, what the hell? Like, you went from California to Louisiana to dispose of this possible murder weapon. Like, okay. I mean, I guess they're never going to find that one, but my God.
Pretty much, yeah. But then why say that's weird. Okay.
Yeah. So as far as like the motivation where it's like, what is this? It was just really about her thinking. It was about like wanting to control her daughter. She was afraid of scandal, and she knew that her daughter was like obsessed with William Desmond Taylor and was like writing him these letters. And she had also sort of encouraged the relationship or whatever. It was like, hey, go over here, do what you need to do, like get yourself cast. But then was also like, oh, if this becomes public, because it seems like he's not reciprocating, he doesn't want to make you his official girlfriend, and now this is just really embarrassing for you, and like you look crazy and desperate. And also, it sounded like he wasn't necessarily making her a star per se. Like, so it was the statements to the police where she was saying that like she was trying to protect her daughter's career / reputation, because it was like, okay, there are these damning letters because like my daughter is a teenager and she's writing these letters to him, but he is not taking her seriously as an actress or as a girlfriend. Like, this has gone south. She's not being cast. Right. He's clearly, not, it sounds like, she was really controlling and wanted to sort of be in charge of like the direction of her daughter's career. And he was essentially being seen as a liability at this point.
Yeah.
Because
and if those letters came out, like her daughter's career is tanked.
Yeah. You have the ability to embarrass us. So a popular theory is that she had gone over there because she found out that these letters existed, and she had gone over there to say, give me back the letters. And
this isn't working the way it was supposed to work.
Yeah, this isn't working the way it's supposed to work. So give me back the letters. Just like let's call it a day here. And that she would have been allowed in. Like, he would have invited her in, because it's like, this is a woman. This is the mother of this actress. She wouldn't have been, I think, a stranger. So that he would have let her in. And that the thought was that maybe they had a conversation of like, oh, we've had our differences. And that she went to hug him. And as she was hugging him, shot him in the back.
Ooh.
Which is what explains, the weird angle. Because this was also speculated with some of these other suspects. But they're like, well, if he was shot at this weird angle, this isn't someone who just like, he turned around and they shot him straight. It's almost like someone was embracing him when they shot him. Isn't that odd? So Mabel Normand, who we talked about first, had been a suspect as someone who was like, oh, were you lovers? And you were in a lover's embrace and you like seduced him and then shot him, kind of thing. Right. And they're like, but again, there was no forensic evidence. And she's like, no, I definitely left. Like, we blew kisses. My limo driver was there. Like,
Yeah,
no,
I witness,
I didn't kill him. And they don't think Mary Miles Minter herself did it. So they're looking at the mother like, did this lady have reason to be like, oh, here, you know what, like, it's all water under the bridge, like, let me give you a hug, and then shoots him with the same caliber of gun that she happens to own, and then whoopsie, the gun ends up in a Louisiana bayou. And she's being like evasive and weird, and they're like, you know what, we've interviewed her a couple times, and she keeps saying sort of like she's being cagey, and you know, she's not really making a lot of sense, but we can tell she's lying about some or all of this. Like, we can't really pin her down. So this is my favorite theory, that Charlotte Shelby, the mother, she confronts Taylor or has some sort of like, oh, like, let's have a meeting, and then shoots him quickly, like in this hug situation. So again, why would there be a struggle? He doesn't think he's in danger. Right. He doesn't know this woman has a gun. Like, he never sees it coming. So she shoots him, just leaves the house. Yeah. So that also is part of this sort of like efficient narrative of the crime scene, where like nothing's disturbed. You know, she lets herself out. You know, door gets closed. All of that. So this is this is the one I kind of like the most. There's a couple other characters in this. We have Edward F. Sands, who was William Desmond Taylor's former valet. He was also a cook / thief and forger, and he also vanished.
Multi-hyphenate, you know?
I know. I was like, there's so many friggin' people. So this guy, Edward, he had prior convictions for embezzlement and forgery, and also for serial desertion from the military. This guy was wild. He was born in Ohio, but he had multiple aliases and often spoke with a Cockney accent. Because sure. I was like, why? But okay. So Sands had worked as Taylor's valet, which, for those who don't know, a valet is like a personal assistant. Sands had forged Taylor's name on checks and also wrecked his car. What? To their, like, this is like one of those jobs.
Like a butler.
Ish, yeah. It's like, this is one of those Downton Abbey jobs that, like, I'm sure exists somewhere for, like, the 0.111%. They were on a trip, Taylor, so he brings his valet along. Sands had forged Taylor's name on checks and also wrecked his car. What? Also burgled Taylor's bungalow. And he left footprints on the film director's bed. So, like, just not even subtle. So he obviously... He'd been fired after this, like, check forging / car wrecking scandal, but then had subsequently broken in and had, like, stolen from Taylor's apartment, where he was, like, later found dead. So they're like, you know, disgruntled former employee. He has a criminal past. Yeah, he already broke in. He's using a Cockney accent. Like, what about this guy? But also, maybe most suspiciously, after the murder, Sands was never seen again.
Oh, interesting.
Disappeared himself. Yeah. So I was like, I mean, that's a real smoking gun. But remembering what we said before, there were plenty of valuables and things even on Taylor's person, and also in the apartment of value. Like, he had cash. He had like jewelry. He had the silver cigarette case. Like, he had a lot of stuff where it was like, well,
why wouldn't he take it?
Yeah.
And if he's a thief first before he would be a murderer,
right.
He would take that, I would think.
Right. So plausible, I think, in terms of like, here is a criminal adjacent person
in
who's
the
like,
circle.
Yeah, nearby. But this also, again, like the note I have, it says like, theft isn't necessarily like a quick gateway to like close range murder.
Right.
You know, that is also like, if it was something where, even if they said like there would be more evidence for it to be this guy if he had been shot from a distance, because they were like, you know, that could have been like burglary gone wrong. Like, you know, Taylor walked in on him and saw him and then he like shot him from across the room and it killed him. That would be more plausible than like, no, he's shot point blank under the shoulder as though someone is embracing him, and it like goes like diagonally through his body. Like,
and
that's
he
really
was
weird.
Shot at close range. Like, that was part of the. Okay.
Yes, they know like the gun was like, I think they said like it wasn't necessarily like pressed like against his body, but it was like,
but it was
basically point blank range. Yeah, it wasn't like, oh, he was like. And they knew they could tell from the way he fell, I guess, that he had been standing when he was shot. So it wasn't like, oh, he was like already laying down on the floor and then we shot him. It was like, no, he was shot and then fell backwards.
Right.
Hence why they immediately didn't know he was shot, because they couldn't see the exit. There was no exit wound, and they couldn't
stomach
see
hemorrhage.
the bullet. Yeah, stomach hemorrhage. So it's like, this.
What if Edward Sands was the doctor in the crowd and came up and said, "It's a stomach hemorrhage."
You're gonna say, "Please do it, please do it."
It's an hemorrhage, governor.
It's an hemorrhage. I'm a doctor. And then he ran away.
Cheers.
And that was it.
Olivia,
We might have just solved it.
We have no proof that that's not
what happened.
it.
And the reason that the valuables were still there is because people showed up too quickly.
Yeah.
Maybe he panicked.
So, again, there's no ballistics evidence to tie Sands to it. It doesn't track maybe as cleanly as, say, like a woman assailant. But this is a person who is sleazy as hell. He was never seen again, which is a pretty big red flag. Maybe this guy, but also maybe not this guy.
Yeah.
Maybe they were in it together.
Yeah. Now we have somebody who I'm like, leave this poor person alone.
Orson Welles. I'm kidding. It's my favorite. It's my favorite to just insert.
No, we have Henry Peavy, who was William Desmond Taylor's current valet. So Sands had been fired, and now we have this guy, Henry Peavy. Okay. Henry Peavy, it needs to be stated because this is important. Henry Peavy, unlike everyone else we've talked about, was a person of color. Okay. So I think personally a lot of Henry Peavy, where this was proximity, so it was like last person to see him alive, you found the body, you know, things like that.
Like, let's talk
yeah.
to it. Yeah.
But also they're like, oh, clearly, you know, you're a person of color, you must be a criminal.
Right.
Like, no, don't love that. Yep. But Henry Peavy, obviously, he had access to the home and he was the discoverer of the body.
Oh, he discovered the body.
Yeah, he discovered the body. So he came in, 7:30. He was coming to work and discovers his employer dead in the apartment. So this is stuff where I'm just sort of like, what? So newspapers had a field day with this guy, and again, we've already talked about the newspapers were like, this was very like tabloid fodder. There was a lot of like speculation, like based on nothing, just like people's hot takes. But newspapers said that Peavy wore flashy golf costumes, but did not own any golf clubs. Or it was like,
that's a interesting observation.
What,
so that
he likes
makes
to
him
wear
a killer?
Argyle? Like what?
I don't know. Maybe he just liked the look. Like that's what I'm like. She wore leggings and she hadn't even been to yoga. I was like,
that's every white woman in America.
That's right.
Like, come on.
Yeah. So this is also another thing where I was like, is this criminal misconduct or is this just like a black man trying to exist in a very white world? Yeah. They also said
ding, ding, ding.
3 days before Taylor's murder, Peavy had been arrested for, quote, social vagrancy and charged with being, quote, lewd and dissolute.
Mm-hmm. You know what? I think
for being
he
alive
either was out past curfew, like if there was a curfew somewhere, or he was, like in a white area and making people uncomfortable just by existing.
Yeah. So this is someone who, again, I was like, I don't think there's a lot of there. After, like in 1930, he was admitted to Napa State Hospital with general paralysis, basically. Due to untreated syphilis.
Oh no!
So he ultimately died, unfortunately, from syphilis, which is really no there as far as like, did this guy do anything like bad or wrong? And from what I've gathered, the answer is no. He was just someone who was in the vicinity, who was like doing his job, and they're like, well, he was arrested. And it was like, it sounds like he was arrested for just like existing as a black man in a space. Yep. So like, arrested.
Hey, can we stop this too? Because that's still also going on as well. Like, can we not like profile people? So the only evidence against this man is proximity and just people's prejudice.
He was too fashion forward.
And fashion forward. He wore some Argyle.
And
knickers.
And obviously,
a cap.
That means he's a murderer.
Obviously.
Yeah, so again,
most murderers I know wear a cap, so. An Argyle style.
No hard forensics on this guy. I am sad that he died of something very preventable. And I think he probably, frankly, deserved way better than all this bullshit.
Agreed.
So, finally, we have a couple of theories that are like, okay, this is out there, but we got to include them. There is this drug ring / Hollywood narcotics hitman theory.
Oh. Okay.
Allegedly, this one goes that Taylor was killed by a hitman connected to drug suppliers. And this was framed as, remember, they were like, oh, we have to, this is looking really bad for Hollywood. Like, we need to, close ranks. They sort of, told the police to back off the investigation because this was sort of, somebody on, the inner circle.
Yeah.
We need to silence them, because, they know too much. So Mabel Normand, who we talked about had been addicted to cocaine.
Right.
That maybe Taylor had gotten himself mixed up with this interfering with drug suppliers, and they're like, oh, you're discouraging people from buying our cocaine. Okay. So they had him killed. This seems like a big old reach to me. I'm like, you're gonna hurt your arm reaching for that, that theory. I think it's is it plausible as far as he was murdered quickly. There wasn't a struggle. There was no weapon found at the scene. But also, there's not a lot of, the crime scene was super compromised. And there's also no evidence that, why would it be a hitman? That just seems, it seems like too much, I guess, for what it is. And it's you could interpret it that way. But we talk about, most of the time when someone is murdered, not always, but most, it's someone you knew. And it's someone who's already, in your circle.
In your life,
a hitman or, a stranger killing, is so unusual for anybody. We now have Margaret Gibson.
Okay.
So Margaret Gibson was a film actress who would also work with Taylor when she first came to Hollywood. In 1917, she was indicted, tried, and acquitted on charges that were basically equivalent to prostitution. Prostitution? It was a little,
what was that?
I don't know. It was a little,
frustration.
Okay. It was a good time. I know I was trying it out. Prostitution.
It's the fancy kind. In Hollywood.
She was an actress, and I guess maybe she was doing sex work on the side. Also, as part of this charge, there was allegations of opium dealing. Opium meaning heroin, as we now know it. Gotta love it. So she changed, I guess, her professional name after this ScaDAL to Patricia Palmer. Okay. So Margaret Gibson is now changed her name to Patricia Palmer. She was also arrested and jailed in 1923, so after the murder, on extortion charges, but these were also later dropped. She was 27. She was in LA at the time of Taylor's murder. There was no record of her being connected to the investigation at the time. She was not a suspect at the time. She was just sort of in proximity, and she had worked with him.
Yeah.
In 1964, as she was dying, on her deathbed, she confessed that she had killed him.
Oh.
Whoa.
We have a deathbed confession.
We have a deathbed confession.
Why? Did she say why?
Why indeed? So the confession was reported secondhand.
Oh.
Yeah.
And it was...
Well, actually, it couldn't have been firsthand. She died.
Yeah. Well, I guess I'll say, it sounds like she only told this to one person.
Okay.
So whoever that was then passed it on. And then I guess this was then passed on to sort of investigators. Because again, this is a cold case.
Right.
But you couldn't independently corroborate that she had even said this. And well, was there any detail? It didn't sound like she gave a why or she gave any sort of lengthy explanation. She was just she's like, I'm dying. Also, I killed William Desmond Taylor. I'm out.
Peace, I'm out.
I'm out. So this is also is this plausible as far as hey, this was someone who she did know him. She was in the area. She was mixed up in some sketchy shit. She was in the drug scene.
On drugs, right?
Yeah, she might have been on drugs. Yeah, maybe she was high. Who knows? Who can say? So if she was known to him, like, would he have, like, let her into the house? Probably, yeah. Like, could she have hugged him and been high and shot him? Like, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, could she been in a desperate situation?
Wanted money, yeah.
Wanted money.
Wanted a job,
or he promised her a job. I mean, she wouldn't have been doing sex work as an actor if she didn't have to be doing sex work.
If it
as
was
an
going
actor.
well as
if it
an
was
actress,
going well, she wouldn't be doing it. So maybe he promised her something and he didn't deliver because, and you know,
or he picked her up to,
or that, yep, and then wasn't going to pay, and she was high and.
Was
interesting.
It could be something really totally like meaningless like that.
Mm-hmm. But again, there's there's just
evidence.
a lack of evidence, and it's like, you know, you can sort of interpret or like speculate like we're doing right now, but just there's nothing tangible to say. And unlike Shelby, who they at least knew like owned this type of weapon, they're like, we didn't even know that this woman had a gun or like had access to a gun. Like there would still have to be like more steps or like more blanks filled in to make, and not to say that she's innocent, but also not to say that she's guilty. But it's like, of all the things to say on one's deathbed, and I know, you know, at end of life, you know, there is basically you can become, as part of the dying process, this is very common, to become like, you know, delirious and to, you know, see things that aren't there. But also a lot of it, it's usually seeing people who have like already died or deathbed, like visioning, like that's very much a thing. And sometimes people say things that don't make sense, but it's usually linked to things that have like happened before or that are true, and not that like a deathbed confession can't happen, but it's sort of, it would be unusual also for her to just pull out this thing that happened 40-something odd years before and to fabricate completely something on her deathbed and then just like not even unpack that and then just die. But this person who, again, was so not even a suspect at the time, like she was never interviewed at the time. It's like, no, we were in a show with them, but like, and you know, maybe we're connected to them on socials, but like, we don't really keep up. So these are pretty much all the suspects.
Okay.
We've now gone through all of them. To sum up the case itself, this was kind of the first big American murder in which like the public felt a personal interest, because like they had that parasocial relationship with, you know, some of the suspects like Mabel Normand and William Desmond Taylor, and they're like, oh my gosh, like I just saw him, or, you know, oh, I love her, like what do you mean, like she's a suspect in this murder, and people felt like they actually knew them. So public interest in the case, like we talked about, it had resulted in stories with the Taylor murder selling more newspapers in the United States than ever before. This was like so like before we had 24-hour news cycle, you know, on like television, it was all like, hey, let's do a newspaper. The newspaper sales exploded because like literacy had just risen. So they're like, well, people will buy the papers if we like write something else crazy. So let's just keep like speculating on this, like making up theories to sell more papers. That's kind of what happened. They're like, let's just keep talking about it, and people still seem interested. So we'll just keep selling more and more newspapers because people want to hear about this because they feel like they know this guy. Anti-Hollywood sentiment, unfortunately, peaked in the weeks following Taylor's murder, with editorials comparing Hollywood to, quote, all the licentiousness that marked the Roman times of Caligula, Claudius, and Nero, and, quote, our American Sodom and Gomorrah.
Oh, my God.
So, like, this was coming on, like, this was, like, the crest of, like, the tidal wave of all these various Hollywood scandals, and this was like, you know, probably like one of the worst ones, but also kind of like the one that broke the straw, you know, the straw that broke the camel's back. And people are like, we have had enough, like the sex and the drugs and the booze, and now a murder, like just
a murder in Hollywood.
So the public, like in the Bible Belt, like the people who are like sitting in their house and praying, they're like, this Hollywood must be stopped. Like this industry, like, you know, that's sprung up. Like this is bad.
Heathens, all of them.
Yeah, heathens. Some editorials had characterized Taylor, who was villainized in Death, that he was like a crafty, cultured villain who, quote, got what he was coming to him, and, quote, urging every weapon available should be used by all the forces of law to defeat the conspiracy to cover up the Taylor case.
Wow.
They weren't saying like, oh yeah, he's an altar boy. It's like, no, he's just he's a man.
They said he was having sexual relations with like a 17-year-old. So.
Yeah, and he like fully abandoned his wife and daughter, and he was like an alcoholic. I don't think anyone was saying
necessarily a great guy.
No,
but also there's a lot of room between like not great and like deserves to be murdered. Like, no, I don't think anyone was saying that, but people were like, no, he deserved what he was coming to him, and you should stop trying to solve the
murder.
Make him look
hero that did this.
Yeah. I was like, weird vibe, but
That's
okay.
a weird reaction.
Yeah. So these newspaper-driven Hollywood scandals of the early 1920s, it included Taylor's murder, the Roscoe Arbuckle trial, because that went to trial and was also like a whole big issue. There was also the death of Olive Thomas was around the same time.
I was just going to say Olive,
as we talked about that case in a previous episode. So that was also, again, part of this headline avalanche. The drug and alcohol-related deaths of Wallace Reed, Barbara Lamar, and Gene Eagles, all of which prompted Hollywood studios to begin writing into their contracts morality clauses and moral turpitude clauses. And then they would dismiss contractees who breached them. So they were kind of like, okay, you're making the industry look bad. People like don't want to come see the movie because they think it's like full of sin and vice, and they don't want to support you, this actor who's like been on trial or been arrested or whatever. So that was kind of the start of the morality police clause in Hollywood.
And then instead of like really enforcing it, they just covered it up.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, I mean, it didn't do any good, obviously. Harvey Weinstein,
name a person, any person. Yeah, there's so many, you're absolutely right, Olivia, like, there were so many cases, I will say even, like, the 30s.
Clark Gable, drunk
so
driving.
Much.
I love that guy, but it's like
any decade of Hollywood, any decade of Hollywood had its own share of capital S ScaDAL.
Yes.
So I don't know if this just maybe gave the studios license to be like, well, if someone is really this much of a liability, we have the option to fire them. But at the same time, like you said, Jen, about someone like Clark Gable, it's like, this is our biggest box office star. Are we really gonna?
Right.
Are we gonna enforce the morality clause or just let it happen?
But we'll force the morality clause with somebody that that chorus girl over there who isn't really making us any money. She doesn't matter.
A woman,
not fair.
Oh, no. Yeah. Yeah. So
what is?
So those are the suspects, but like I said, Floozies, I am inclined to think it was the stage mom, Charlotte Shelby, Mary Miles Minter's mother. That's my favorite. I think also because it's the only one that has any forensic meat on the bone. And I feel like Mabel Normand, for me, maybe as a runner-up, being like, he was more into me and I was his friend, but I left him alive and well. I don't see any reason why she would have murdered him, but I could see her hugging him, and she was definitely there.
Yeah.
Shortly before his time of death. So that means Mabel Normand would have had to have left, and then almost immediately, based on time of death, Charlotte Shelby came a knocking, and he's like, Mabel, is that you? Are you back? And then
he was very excited to open the door, perhaps.
It's Mrs. Shelby. He's like, can we talk? Can we just talk about my daughter and her career? And I know she sent you some embarrassing letters. I'm sorry about that, but maybe you'll cast her in your next movie. And he's like, absolutely not. She's weird.
A hussy.
Yeah, she's a hussy. Yeah, exactly. And then she's like, okay, let's hug it out.
If I wrote a movie about this would be what I would do.
Okay.
It would be all of them.
They all did it.
It would be all of the women working together to nail this son of a bitch.
Oh.
Right?
A group project.
A group project.
Right.
So, it's Charlotte Shelby's gun, right?
Okay.
Maybe it's for Mary Miles because she is the one that kind of got screwed over more than any of them.
Maybe.
Maybe it's our Meryl Streep. It's not Meryl. What's her name?
Norman Desmond.
I know. I almost said that's what I was going to say, and that's why I didn't say
Norman Desmond.
Mabel Normand.
Mabel Normand.
Because she's
Mabel
our
Normand Desmond.
she's like our movie star kind of like really great actress and who's really close to him, and he is like infatuated with her. Maybe she's the one that actually did it because she could have gotten close to him. I don't know. That's just that's how I would write it. They'd all have done it.
I'm going to go with Edward Sands, big Cockney accent guy, who I think posed as a doctor.
Oh, he was in it too, 100%. He posed as a doctor.
Yeah, and that's what I think.
Because he and Charlotte Shelby were like a thing.
In cahoots.
Yeah.
Did they mention that the doctor was an English doctor by any chance? Who said it was
They only said he sometimes affected the accent, Olivia, so he might have turned it off in that moment. They were like,
he was like, I've done it too much.
It couldn't be Edward. He has a Cockney accent. That doctor sounded like he was from the Midwest.
And
he's just running away like.
I also wonder, and I'm thinking out loud here. I do wonder if there is speculation going back to Charlotte Shelby, but because they're like, you know what? She said a bunch of conflicting shit, and the only thing we can really know for sure is that she's definitely lying about something, and we're not exactly sure what, but she's definitely lying.
She's definitely lying.
I wonder if there is any meat on the bone of Mary Miles Minter stole her mother's gun.
I thought about that too. Yeah,
and maybe
she's covering for
the
her
daughter. Yeah, so she she knew it, and she had reason to believe. Where she's like, "Damn it, Mary!" Oh Mary.
I mean, oh Mary.
Oh Mary. Like, wasn't something like that where she's like, okay. Again, her income is, based around her stage mother career, and her daughter, like being a, potential celebrity. She wasn't yet, but her daughter, like making it as an actress. And so she has reason to believe that she's like, she probably did murder this guy. My gun is missing, or, like my gun came back and I can tell it's been fired.
Or Mary came back with blood on her hands. I mean,
anything. Yeah.
Who knows? She was 19, and she was infatuated with him, and he
was not giving her what she wanted.
I mean, come on. Like, he did at some point.
And at the same time,
that fucks up your brain.
It does. Because you think that this should be, and that was where it was like, she wanted it to be a bona fide relationship. Yeah. And he's just like, no. I mean, if you want to, like, come over and do whatever, like, I'm like entertained by that for a while, but also like now you're like desperate and you're sending me all these letters and like this is really sad. So like now I'm turned off and no. And she's like, but I love you. Like please and cast
she
me.
Was a child star, and that is a lot of pressure.
Traumatic.
In it. Yeah. And I would say if I wasn't writing it, I think that would actually be my guess. That I think Mary Miles might have done it, and her mom's covering up for her.
Es posible.
Yeah. And if he's kind of openly fraternizing with Mabel, perhaps, or
everyone openly fraternizing with everybody. I mean, but
was Mary Miles Minter hiding in a shrub, and she sees Mabel Normand leaving, and they're blowing kisses, and then she's just like, I can't, like Chicago style.
Yeah.
And then he ran into my knife. He ran into my knife 10 times. Like, is it something like that where she's like, please just let me come in? Or maybe she asked for the letters back. Maybe she was like, okay, well then give me back my letters and just...
Can I just have one more hug?
Can I just hug you goodbye? Yeah, like, because whoever shot him...
There was definitely an embrace.
They're almost certain, like forensically, this is one of the few things that we do have forensically, someone was embracing him when they shot him. So...
Interesting.
That is the unsolved cold case of William Desmond Taylor, floozies.
Well done, well done.
We'll never know.
I think it was part of that family for sure. And then the death confession. Maybe she just knew them somehow, or was like obsessed with the case for some reason.
Yeah,
so
that was
just
also
in her
a weird
brain.
One. Yeah, Margaret was like,
if I wrote the movie, she'd also be a part of it, obviously. But in real life, I think it's just some weird coincidence.
I think
maybe,
thematically, thematically, Jen, I think that could be like a cool red herring where like you go into the movie and you think it's Margaret and you're like, oh, well, we already know she did it. We just have to see how it happened. And then in like a twist, you find out it was in fact someone else, but Margaret has like convinced herself that it was her.
That she did it.
No.
She spends her days in a
the next Knives Out movie.
What
what do you have on deck for our next episode?
Yeah. So I am doing the Gardner heist.
Stewart Gardner Museum.
Isabella Stewart Gardner Museum. Also, still unsolved, and no pieces have been recovered.
Incredible.
So,
Fascinating.
Yeah. Olivia, I feel like you're a resident museum
for some reason.
expert.
I love it though.
I don't know what. I guess maybe
You
just
live
I'm
with a
married
visual
to an
artist. Yeah.
Yes, that's
It's
why.
rubbing
No.
off on you. I love it. Until the next one. Bye.
And scene.
Thanks for listening to this week's episode of the Wicked Stage Pod.
Follow us on Instagram and check out our Patreon for more exclusive content.
These deliciously wicked episodes drop every other Friday, so make sure you subscribe or follow and don't get left waiting in the wings.